The journey of a boy who transformed his life through self-belief. Once upon a time, in a quiet town surrounded by hills, lived a boy named Arjun. He woke up every morning with a tired face, not because he was lazy, but because life had already become a burden. His classmates used to laugh behind his back. His teachers had given up on him. Even his family had started believing he wouldn't make it far in life. Arjun was failing in almost every subject. At home, he had been hearing only one thing: "Why can't you be like others?" He never replied. He just sat quietly, staring at the ceiling of his small room. He had dreamed once, but those dreams were now covered in the dust of disappointment. "Everyone says I am good for nothing," he whispered to himself. It had been happening for years. Every time he tried to improve, someone pulled him down. The world had already labeled him a loser. He remembered the day when he failed his school exam again. He had studied hard but still scored the lowest. He came home and saw his father silently shaking his head. His mother didn't speak a word. That silence was louder than shouting. That night, Arjun was crying, but no one knew. And yet, that night changed something inside him. "I'm not what they think I am," he whispered. "I can change. I will change." It was the first time in years he spoke to himself with power. From the next morning, he started waking up early. Not at 10, but at 5 a.m. He began with just 10 push-ups, then 20, then 30. "I am not competing with anyone," he told himself. "I just want to become better than I was yesterday." The next few weeks were not magical. There were no miracles. No one noticed the changes. But Arjun had begun something powerful, something invisible, yet unstoppable. He wasn't doing great things yet, but he was building a great mindset. He woke up early every day, not because someone told him to, but because he had decided to. Every morning, while the world still was sleeping, he was walking, thinking, breathing, and dreaming again. He had written a note and stuck it above his desk. "You were not born to fit in. You were born to rise." At first, he had been struggling to stay consistent. His body said sleep, but his soul screamed wake up. And slowly, the body started listening to the soul. One day, while cleaning the roof space, he found an old book his grandfather had once given him. It was about habits, discipline, and life mastery. He sat down and started reading. Within 10 pages, he felt something spark inside him. The book said, "You are what you repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." That sentence changed something. From that day onward, Arjun began creating his own practices. He has been waking up early now for over 3 months. He hasn't missed a single day. He has been meditating, reading, writing his goals, and exercising. No one still noticed. But he wasn't doing it for the world. He was doing it for himself. "I will not stop until I become the version of me I can respect," he told the mirror. He had written down 10 rules for his life. Number 1. No more complaining. Number 2. No social media before 9 a.m. Number 3. Read for 20 minutes daily. Number 4. Exercise, even if it's 10 minutes. Number 5. Practice gratitude. Number 6. Speak less, observe more. Number 7. Protect your peace. Number 8. Avoid negative people. Number 9. Finish what you start. Number 10. Never forget why you started. His old friends were partying. They were wasting time. But Arjun was working silently. They laughed. He smiled. They slept. He practiced. They gossiped. He grew. "Let them laugh," he whispered. "One day they'll ask me how I did it." That's how transformation begins, not in noise, but in silence. Every big change looks small in the beginning, but the small step that seems invisible today will one day become unmissable. Arjun's journey was flowing smoothly. He had built powerful habits. He had been waking up early, meditating, and exercising. He felt stronger, calmer, and more focused than ever before. "I'm ready for anything now," he thought. But life, as it always does, was preparing a test. One morning, Arjun got a phone call that changed everything. His father had met with an accident. A minor one, but it shook the family. Hospital bills started piling up. Tension filled the house. Suddenly, Arjun was not just a student, he became the caretaker. He had to manage home, run errands, and take care of his siblings. Why now? He thought. I was just getting better. He was skipping his routines. He was sleeping late again. For a few days, he did nothing but cry silently. He remembered the version of himself from the past, the one who would have quit by now. But Arjun was no longer that boy. He took a deep breath. He opened his journal and wrote one line. When life gets harder, you don't get weaker, you get stronger. He had every excuse to give up, But he made a choice to rise again. Even in chaos, he started waking up early, even if it was just 15 minutes. He began meditating again, sometimes in the hospital waiting room. He carried his books in a plastic bag. He studied between responsibilities. "I will not wait for the perfect time," he said. "I will create it." That's when true growth happens, not when things are easy, but when everything is falling apart and you still choose to keep going. His mentor once told him, "Life will hit you hard. You will fall, but your real strength is in how fast you stand back up." Sometimes, life pushes you back just to see how badly you want to go forward. Arjun didn't break. He bent, yes, but he didn't break. And slowly, he was regaining momentum. In the early hours, when everyone slept, he whispered, "I've cried. I've hurt. But I'm not done yet." One decision changed his destiny. He chose to keep going. Months had passed. The chaos had not disappeared completely, but Arjun had adapted. He had learned how to grow through pain, not just survive it. And then, one morning, something happened. Arjun was walking slowly toward the school notice board. His heart was pounding. He had failed many times before, but this time, he had given it everything. His friends were already gathered around the list. Whispers filled the air. Who's first? Did Arjun even pass? He stopped. He took a breath. Then he looked. His name was there. Not at the bottom. Not in the middle. Third rank. At first, he didn't believe it. "This must be someone else," he muttered. But it was his roll number. His name. The boy who had failed every subject last year was now in the top 3. His eyes were filled with tears. But this time, it wasn't pain. It was pride. The Arjun told himself, "I did it. I kept showing up. I didn't give up. I changed my life one day at a time." His teachers, who once ignored him, now called him an example. His classmates, who once mocked him, now asked for help. But Arjun never bragged. He just smiled and said, "I'm still learning." What he did differently. What changed wasn't the syllabus. What changed wasn't the school. What changed was Arjun. He started believing. He started preparing. He started acting. And he kept doing it, even when no one was watching. Success does not happen overnight. It happens every morning you wake up early. Every time you say no to distractions. Every time you do what is right instead of what is easy. He had been consistent for months. He had changed his mindset completely. He had built mental muscles just like physical ones, with daily reps. His father, who once stayed silent, hugged him for the first time in years. "I'm proud of you, son," he said. And Arjun? He didn't feel like a topper. He felt like a warrior who had finally won his first battle. When people see success, they only see the final result. They don't see the nights you stayed awake, the days you cried, the moments you doubted yourself, but still kept going. Arjun's journey was not over. This was only chapter 1. But now, he had something powerful with him: belief. Arjun had changed. But now, something bigger was about to happen. It wasn't just about his life anymore. He had unknowingly become a symbol of hope to others. One afternoon, during lunch break, a quiet student named Ravi approached him. "Arjun, how did you do it? You used to be like me, and now, look at you." Arjun smiled and sat down beside him. He said gently, "Ravi, I didn't become smarter. I just became more focused. I started believing in progress, not perfection." That one conversation turned into many. Soon, Arjun was guiding others, not like a guru, but like a friend. He began writing motivational quotes on classroom boards. He shared his study techniques. He showed how to build morning routines. He even started a small group called. Every Saturday, a few students gathered after school to share what they learned that week. They meditated. They set goals. They challenged each other, kindly, but seriously. In just 2 months, the group had grown to 30 students. They were helping each other study, stay consistent, and stay positive. One of the boys who had once called Arjun a failure? He joined the group too. "I was wrong about you," he told Arjun, "and I was wrong about myself." Real change is not when you rise. Real change is when you lift others as you rise. Arjun started teaching something he called the rule of one. He explained, "Just do one thing every day that makes you better, even if it's small. One extra page, one act of kindness, one early morning, one tough decision." He told them, "If you do that one thing daily, in 1 year, your life will not look the same." The school principal noticed the change. He invited Arjun to speak on annual day. For the first time, Arjun stood on a stage, holding a mic, in front of the same people who once laughed at him. He looked at the crowd and said, "A few years ago, I was at the bottom. I had no belief, no confidence, no direction. But every day, I decided not to give up. I didn't become successful overnight, I became consistent. And consistency is more powerful than talent. If I can rise, so can you. The auditorium erupted in applause. Be so focused on your growth that others want to grow just by watching you. Arjun's transformation had turned into a movement, and he had just begun. Arjun had achieved what once felt impossible. He had earned respect, transformed his habits, and inspired a whole group of students. But now, something deeper started stirring inside him. One evening, Arjun sat on the terrace under a starry sky. The breeze was calm. The world was quiet. But his mind was full of questions. Is this it? Do I only want marks, medals, and applause? Or do I want something more? Something meaningful? He remembered his early days of struggle. The tears, the pain, the silence. That's when he realized his true purpose wasn't just to succeed. It was to help others succeed too. Not just by motivation, but by example, by service, by showing the way. He said to himself, getting good marks is a goal, but helping someone else rise, that's a purpose. Success is about me, but significance is about others. From that moment, Arjun made a bigger choice. I won't just chase perfection. I will live with purpose. In his final year, Arjun had 2 offers. 1. A high-paying corporate internship. 2. A fellowship to teach underprivileged kids in rural schools. Everyone told him to take the corporate job, but Arjun sat with his mentor and asked, "Sir, what should I choose, security or service?" His mentor smiled and said, "The world is full of smart people. What it needs is someone brave enough to care." That night, Arjun made his decision. Arjun took the fellowship. He moved to a village with no Wi-Fi, no ACs, no big buildings. But every morning, he walked barefoot to a small school where 50 kids were waiting, kids who had never been told they were important. He looked into their eyes and saw what he once was: confused, lost, scared. And every time he taught them, he wasn't just sharing knowledge, he was giving hope. Don't become rich, he told the children. Become valuable. Sometimes the right path isn't the most comfortable one. It's the one that makes you sleep peacefully at night, knowing you lived for something bigger than yourself. Arjun had chosen legacy over luxury, and that made all the difference. A fulfilled life isn't made by collecting things. It's made by giving meaning to others. Life gives rewards, but life also gives storms, especially to those walking a meaningful path. Arjun had found purpose. He had begun transforming lives. Children from the village were learning, growing, dreaming. But just when everything seemed to be working, one evening, during a heavy monsoon, the roof of the village school collapsed. No one was hurt, but the classroom was gone. Next day, local authorities visited and said, "We're sorry, we don't have funds for repairs right now." And just like that, the school was shut down indefinitely. Arjun stood in front of the locked gate. His students stood behind him, tears in their eyes. "Where will we learn now?" One of them whispered. That moment broke something inside him. Arjun was angry. He had sacrificed everything to be here. Now even the place where he served selflessly was gone. He sat under a tree that night and cried for the first time in months. Why does this happen? Why does life punish those who try to do good? He was torn. Should he go back to the city? Start a secure life again? Maybe I've done enough, he thought. But then he heard a small voice. It wasn't from the outside. It was his own inner voice. If you leave now, they'll lose hope again. That next morning, he woke up and said, "If I can't build a school with bricks, I'll build one with courage." He went door to door, asking for help. He spoke to NGOs, wrote to officials, raised funds online. Slowly, the support started coming. Within 45 days, they built a temporary classroom from bamboo and tarpaulin. It wasn't perfect, but it was alive. And so was the learning. We don't need a building to teach values, he said. We need a burning heart. Arjun was back not just as a teacher, but as a fighter for these kids. He taught math on a blackboard nailed to a tree. He taught English using handmade flashcards. He even taught confidence through storytelling. And the kids? They were learning faster than ever before. Not just academics, but life lessons. Sometimes, life takes everything from you, just to see whether you really meant what you said. I said I want to help. Life asked me, how badly? And Arjun had answered. Not with words, but with actions. He wasn't just a teacher anymore. He had become a builder of hope. You never know who's watching you. You may feel alone, but someone is always getting inspired silently. That's exactly what started happening with Arjun. One of Arjun's old college friends had visited the village. He took a few photos and short videos of Arjun teaching kids under trees, under tarpaulin shelters, walking barefoot with books in hand. He uploaded them with the caption, "This is my friend Arjun. He left a corporate future to rebuild dreams in a forgotten village." Within hours, the post exploded. People from across the country started sharing it. Journalists called. Podcasters invited him. Influencers saluted him. The world finally saw what a quiet warrior looks like. You don't need 1 million followers to make a difference. You need one powerful reason and the courage to act on it. Arjun's story was featured on national TV. And more importantly, donations poured in from every corner of the country. With that, they rebuilt the village school bigger and better than before. Solar-powered lights, bookshelves, smartboards, clean toilets. And the best part? Every classroom had this written on the front wall. Success is when you rise. Purpose is when you lift others with you. The kids who once didn't know ABC, they now spoke fluent English in front of guests. One girl, Mira, stood confidently on stage during a district competition and said, "Sir, I want to become a doctor because my teacher told me I can." That day, Arjun wept silently in the back row. She doesn't know. "I once didn't believe in myself either. But because I learned to rise, now she can too." One student, one teacher, one dream. That's all it takes to begin a revolution. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent with purpose. Arjun never aimed to be a hero. He simply refused to give up again and again and again. Years had passed, but Arjun's journey felt like it had just begun. He wasn't a boy anymore. He was now a symbol, a mentor, a spark that had lit thousands of other flames. He was invited as the keynote speaker at a national youth leadership summit. Hundreds of young minds sat before him waiting to hear the story of the boy who once failed, rose, and became a guide for others. He walked on stage simple kurta, notebook in hand, humble eyes. He didn't carry arrogance. He carried experience. He took a deep breath and said, "Years ago, I was sitting just like you, confused, tired, lost. I thought life was over because I failed one exam. But today, I know that was life's invitation to rise. I've learned something I want to leave with you today. You don't need to be the best. You just need to begin. You don't need to wait for motivation. Just start moving. You don't need applause. Just keep showing up. And when life gets hard, don't run. Rise. Because when you rise, others rise with you." My life didn't change overnight, but it changed the day I stopped blaming and started building one day at a time. He looked at the audience and said, "I was once like you, but I chose not to give up. And so can you. If you're listening to this, I want you to remember, success is not a destination. It's a direction. And you are already on the path the moment you choose to grow. You may have failed. You may feel broken. You may be tired. But if you rise today, you will inspire someone tomorrow. Don't chase perfection. Chase progress. Chase purpose. And let your journey light the way for others." This was the story of Arjun, a boy who failed once but refused to stay down. And in rising, he became the reason hundreds rose after him. Now the question is, what story will your life tell? Your rise begins today. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be brave enough to begin. The world doesn't remember those who gave up. It remembers those who chose to rise again and again. Like Arjun, your past doesn't define you. Your decisions do. Decide today to stand, to grow, to rise. Because when you rise, others will rise through you. This is your story now. Make it count. My dear friends, thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it meaningful, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more wisdom, inspiration, and life-changing stories. See you in the next video. Until then, stay positive and keep growing.